Can you make a coil pot out of Play-Doh? Let's find out. I normally make pottery using potter's clay and simple tools, but today I'm challenging myself. I want to find out if I can use the same tools and techniques that I usually do and build a full-size pot out of Play-Doh. Here are the tools I'm going to use today. A puki, that's the bottom mold for a round bottom pot. A smooth stone. A gourd scraper. This is really the indispensable tool for forming coil pottery. An ordinary spoon. A credit card, a hotel room key, a gift card, some kind of plastic card. A small piece of buckskin that I'll use for smoothing the rim, hopefully. And finally, my needle tool. This is just a mesquite thorn glued into a stick. And of course, the Play-Doh. Now, I couldn't get a large tub of actual brand name Play-Doh, so I got the Crayola brand, but it should work the same. I have not been into this yet, so looks like it's in a plastic bag inside here to keep it from drying out. That makes sense. Whew. That's a big old hunk of blue Play-Doh. We could make a good sized pot out of that. Better get started. It certainly is different textured than clay. So I'm just going to start like I usually do with my puki and just pat out a little, what I call a pancake of clay, just like making a tortilla. I hope this works. It sure is a funny texture. It doesn't stick to itself the same way clay does. You kind of have to push it together and kind of make it stick to itself. Okay, so I've got a nice little flat pancake of Play-Doh here that I think is going to be enough. Now, what I would do with clay is I would get my gourd scraper wet and I would press it in there. Oh, that is weird. Look at the texture it makes on that. That's really strange. Not behaving the same at all. Whew, yeah, I don't know. That does some weird things to it. I might not be able to use that gourd scraper at all. I'm not all the way up above the edge of the puki, as you can see here, but it's gonna have to be good enough, I think, because this will not behave like clay. So I'm gonna set that aside and I'm gonna roll out my first coil. I'm probably gonna want a nice fat coil because, you know, the walls of this pot are gonna have to be thicker than what I'm used to because it has less strength. It rolls coils pretty easily, actually. Okay, I've got a big fat coil. So now I've got my first coil on there. My next job is to pinch that thinner. I usually form my pots at about a 1/4 inch thickness. In this case, I probably want more like, you know, 1/3 of an inch. I want a little more substantial walls because this stuff isn't very strong. It's going okay. Now, I usually at this point smooth it again with my scraper, which I will go ahead and do, but as we saw before, not always the best way to work with this stuff. See, it just makes a mess. Isn't that strange? The scraper's not working at all. I don't know if it's the water or the texture of the gourd. It reacts much better to my fingers than it does to the gourd. I don't know what causes that. What does the container say about, I'm wondering what the container says about, you know, using water with this stuff. Store in a cool, dry place. If dough becomes hard, add a little water and knead. So it is water soluble. All right, I'm ready to add a second coil. Here's where I'm at. My walls are 2 inches high above the edge of the puki. I've got some seams. You can see here, there's some coil seams. I'm not sure what to do with those. I certainly don't want to scrape them with my gourd scraper. Maybe I can just gently kind of pinch them with my finger and get them to go away. Big wad of dough here. Gonna make our second coil. Add that second coil. Just gonna lay it on top of there. I'm kind of giving up on smoothing the outside. It's just gonna be whatever it is. Now maybe there's a technique for smoothing the outside of Play-Doh. I don't know. If you know, leave a comment because I don't have a lot of experience with Play-Doh. I know it's gonna surprise you. How many coils am I gonna get on here? I am having a problem here where it's kind of sagging. I'm adding a lot of weight to the walls and it's wanting to sag. You can see it caving in here. Come on, baby. Oh my gosh, look at the bottom. It's sagging beyond the edge of my, it's not gonna work. That is failure right there, okay? Look at that. Blech. It's sagging down below the edge of my Pookie. So that's that. I'm going to stop. I'm gonna start over and I'm not gonna build beyond the edge of my Pookie this time. Okay, I'm gonna use a slightly larger Pookie this time because I want to try to use all of the Play-Doh I have. So a smaller Pookie is only gonna mean I'm gonna use less Play-Doh. So I'm gonna go with a larger Pookie and I'm gonna build not beyond the edges, but more vertical from that. So might work good to roll this with a rolling pin. Try the old rolling pin here. Oh, it is sticking. No, I don't know if it's just the texture because this had clay on it, but it stuck really good. It's funny that it's interesting stuff because it doesn't stick to human hands, but it does stick to a lot of other things. Stuck to my Pookie, stuck to the rolling pin. Best way to form a pot with this is probably to just try to use just your hands. And maybe, you know, don't look for perfection. Just get a rough shape, perhaps, and call that good. All right, here we go. Now, again, I got to remember not to go out beyond the Pookie. You know, it's interesting. You get stuck in your habits, your way of building pottery, and you just naturally go back to it. When you're using any new material and you have to kind of modify the way you work, at least for me, I find that as soon as my brain goes into autopilot, it just switches back into those old ways. So you kind of have to stay on top of yourself. Okay. There's where I'm at, a little, 2 inches above the edge, and I'm just gonna have to bring it vertical at this point because it doesn't have the strength to hold up walls. At least it's not sticking to my work surface. It does stick to, my tools, but it's not sticking to my work surface, which I can be thankful for. You better pay close attention every place 2 pieces of this material are coming together, or it can give you heartbreak later on because it just naturally doesn't want to adhere to itself. It pinches up real well. This particular part, it does really well. The attaching, not so much. The scraping, absolutely you have to avoid. So it's different than clay in a lot of ways, but in some ways, it works real good. Like this part here, this pinching up is just a dream. You gotta learn to manage your expectations with this stuff. At first I thought I was gonna make a nice, smooth, large pot like I would with clay. Now I'm realizing that isn't in the cards. So what I make is gonna be what I can make out of this stuff. Still, I'm making good progress. I've got large, tall walls. This will hold half a gallon of something, I suppose. Now the big question is, what do you do with it when you're done, right? I mean, you can't fire it. It would burn away to nothing, probably. It's all, I would think there's nothing inorganic in here. Keep finished product away from open flame. Do not mold into candle holders or other like items for use around flame. Do not put in oven, microwave, or kiln. But it doesn't do well around fire, so you can't fire it, right? You can let it dry out and harden into something. You could mush it up, I guess. Interesting. It would have limited actual use. We're getting down there. This is all I have left, so. Okay, I've gone all the way around and pinched them thin. Now I'm gonna try to bring them in a little bit by compressing. And that'll give me a little more height as well as I compress that. Okay, here's where I'm at. Not the most beautiful pot ever, and I don't know how to make those walls, nice and smooth because it doesn't like being scraped. So I've got this much. I'm gonna put a thin coil on it because I don't want to put too much weight at this point. It's getting kind of, the walls are getting a little wobbly. So I'm gonna put something thin on the top and then maybe stop and then maybe, you know, see what I got. But I don't have that much clay. So, I mean, I can't put much on. I still have, I think I have enough Play-Doh left over that I could do another thin coil if I decide to here when I'm done. Kind of trying to get those seams to attach if I can, and making sure it's all pinched thin, making sure there's no thick spots left in there. I've got a diameter here of about 3.5 inches, 3 3/4 inches. So that's good. I can get my hand in it, which is good because, you know, if you want to work on the inside of the pot, smoothing it or pushing out dents, you've got to be able to get your hand in there. That's kind of why I had the spoon, was I was imagining forming a nice rounded, you know, globular pot. And sometimes you have a small mouth, you can get your spoon down in there and push out spots. I didn't use the spoon. Well, first of all, this stuff hasn't reacted well to tools at all, but because I couldn't make a pot like that. So that's not necessary. The stone would have been used to kind of smooth the pot, the texture. But again, this stuff, it's not going to work well with the stone. The needle tool, again, has not been necessary. I might use it if I need to trim the rim a little bit, but for the most part, again, unnecessary. This is another scraping tool, and I will show you that on here, but I don't know how it's going to work. So what I usually do with clay is I will scrape the outside with some kind of a sharp tool like this, and that will make it smoother. Again, this isn't working the way I would expect clay to work. That's how that's supposed to work. So, and then this, the scrap of buckskin, I would use to smooth the rim. Again, it's just because the texture is so different, I would not use that to smooth the rim either. So, if you are looking to build a pot with, you know, with Play-Doh, I would suggest your fingers and a little bit of water, probably all you need, and, you know, a pookie would be critical, or some kind of work board to hold your walls up. Okay, I'm going to add that last coil and see, because I'm going to use it all. Now I don't want to, at this point, I don't want to bring it in anymore, because like I said, I'd like to keep it open enough that I can get my hand down there. So I'm going to try to form this lip more upward or even outward. That is the last of it. There is no more clay in here. I have used it all. And it might be fun to fire it, but probably it will be not that fun. Might be better to keep it, let it dry out and see if it holds together. I don't know, I considered squishing it too, but I put so much effort into it now that it seems wasteful to squish it. So here's a sponge. I'm gonna see if that will work for smoothing these walls at all. Well, it kind of gets rid of that crusty texture that the scraping left, that's for sure. But I'm not sure it's doing any good. With real clay, I can get inside and I can press the walls out to where I want them, or if they're sticking out too much, I can kind of get my scraper on it, press it in, bring it into where it needs to be. But this stuff, it's like, it's rubbery almost. It's a very strange texture. So definitely, you know, not the best thing to make pottery out of, but there it is. And, you know, like I said, I can be proud of it. It's probably easily a gallon. It might be a gallon and a half. Might be close to 2 gallons worth of volume. So, good deal. Fun experiment. It was fun to kind of make something. And hey, I made a blue pot. So there's that. My first blue pot. If you really want to learn more about making pottery with coils, I've got a lot of videos on that subject. And I will link one of them up right over here. One where I'm working with actual clay, and you can actually kind of learn how that goes. I appreciate you watching today. I'll catch you next time.